Yet when we look deeper, we encounter an uncomfortable question. How much of what we call free will is actually shaped by forces hidden beneath the surface of awareness? Carl Gustav Jung, one of the great pioneers of psychology, devoted his life to exploring the mysterious regions of the unconscious. He discovered that symbols, archetypes, and recurring images are not random creations of imagination, but fundamental expressions of the soul. For Jung, the unconscious is not merely a dark cellar of repressed material, but also a wellspring of wisdom, creativity, and guidance. The choices we make, often without understanding why, are frequently the voice of this deeper self trying to communicate. Imagine for a moment standing at a crossroads. Several paths lie before you, some leading into shadowy forests, others up steep mountains, some toward the restless ocean, others into vibrant cities, or out into the open fields. When asked to choose, you might feel drawn to one path immediately, almost instinctively without being able to explain why. That very pull, that impulse, is the subject of our exploration here. This is not a matter of fortune-telling or predicting your future in a superficial sense. Instead, it is about recognizing the dialogue between your conscious mind and the unconscious that shapes your destiny. Jung insisted that what you see, what you are drawn toward, and what you choose all carry meaning. Symbols are the language of the soul, and when you respond intuitively to them, you are in fact reading the script of your own inner life. The test you are about to take is deceptively simple. You will be asked to choose a path. Each path is an image, but behind the image lies a symbolic reality. It is as if the unconscious has placed a mirror in front of you, asking, "Who are you at this very moment? Which archetype speaks through you right now? And what direction does your soul long for?" The illusion of absolute control is a comforting one. We want to believe we are masters of our choices, unaffected by forces outside of our awareness. Yet this illusion blinds us to the reality that the unconscious plays a decisive role in shaping our behaviors, preferences, and destinies. By accepting this truth, rather than denying it, we gain freedom. When we learn to listen to the unconscious, we cease to be its prisoners and begin to cooperate with it. So, as you prepare to take this symbolic journey, suspend your logic. Forget your name, your role in society, your profession, your responsibilities for a brief moment. Allow yourself to feel rather than analyze. Which path draws your heart? Which image awakens curiosity, fear, or longing? Trust that impulse, for in that choice lies the story of your soul, unfolding step by step. To step into the forest is to step away from noise. Imagine yourself standing at the entrance of a vast woodland, tall trees arching above, their crowns forming a cathedral of green, while shafts of light filter through the leaves. The deeper you walk, the more the sounds of the outside world fade, traffic, voices, obligations, until all that remains is the rhythm of your own breath and the whisper of the wind. This is not just scenery, it is a symbol. In Jungian terms, the forest represents the unconscious depths where the ego is stripped of distraction and forced to listen. Choosing the forest path means that your soul is longing for reconnection with essence. Perhaps life has become too loud, too filled with demands, opinions, and constant stimulation. The call of the forest is the call of silence, a reminder that wisdom does not shout, it whispers. Those who feel drawn to this path are often at a stage of life where inner reflection has become necessary. It is not about escaping reality forever, but about pausing to rediscover what truly matters. Jung often wrote about the figure of the hermit, an archetype found in myths, religions, and fairy tales. The hermit is the one who leaves the village, climbs the mountain, or enters the woods, not because he despises humanity, but because he seeks clarity that only solitude can provide. In that stillness, one can hear the authentic voice of the self, the center of the psyche that unites conscious and unconscious. If you chose the forest, your unconscious may be urging you to slow down and withdraw from the clamor of daily performance. Silence is not emptiness, it is fullness waiting to be recognized. Modern life often equates silence with absence, but in truth, silence is presence intensified. When you listen without distraction, you begin to hear the hidden music of your own being. This path also suggests a longing for authenticity. Trees grow slowly, season after season, without pretense. They do not hurry, yet they endure. To walk among them is to be reminded that your worth is not measured by productivity or appearances, but by rootedness in who you are. The forest invites you to strip away masks and social expectations, to remember that you are more than your role, more than your achievements. You are a living soul, connected to nature, and capable of wisdom that no external authority can grant. Of course, the forest can also appear intimidating. In myths, the woods are places where one can get lost, where strange creatures lurk, where certainty dissolves into ambiguity. This is why the forest symbolizes the unconscious. It is both nurturing and mysterious, both a sanctuary and a challenge. By choosing this path, you demonstrate readiness to face uncertainty, to trust the unknown, and to find guidance in places that logic cannot map. Consider what silence means for you now. Perhaps it is a literal need to retreat into nature, to walk without a phone, to breathe in air untouched by machines. Or perhaps it is symbolic, a call to create inner space, to meditate, to stop consuming endless information, and to allow your own thoughts to rise to the surface. Silence is the womb of creativity. Many great insights, inventions, and works of art were born not in moments of frenzy, but in quiet contemplation. The forest also asks, what roots you? Where are your foundations? In Jungian psychology, individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires us to integrate unconscious material into consciousness. The forest, with its deep soil and ancient trees, becomes a metaphor for rooting yourself in the depths of your being. Without roots, a tree falls with the first storm. With roots, it can withstand centuries of wind. If your choice was the forest, take it as an invitation to honor solitude, to embrace silence not as a void but as a teacher. The hermit archetype whispers that stepping away from the crowd does not mean isolation. It means deep communion with yourself, and, paradoxically, with the whole of existence. For when you return from the forest, you bring back clarity, peace, and wisdom that benefit not only you, but all who cross your path. So, listen to the silence. Walk slowly. Trust that the forest, though dark and mysterious, is guiding you toward truth. The path of the forest is not about running away from life. It is about returning to its essence. Standing before a mountain, you feel both awe and challenge. Its height overwhelms, its slopes demand strength, and its peak seems to disappear into clouds. Mountains in myth and psychology have always represented transcendence, the arduous climb toward higher vision and greater consciousness. To choose the mountain path is to choose struggle, transformation, and ultimately triumph. It is the way of the hero. Carl Jung emphasized that the hero archetype is not merely about external battles or defeating literal enemies. The truest battle, he taught, is inward, the confrontation with the shadow. The shadow is not evil by nature. It is the collection of parts of ourselves we deny, reject, or suppress. Anger, fear, jealousy, weakness, but also talents and desires we were told were unacceptable. All of this forms a hidden twin that walks beside us, unseen. The mountain path symbolizes the courageous willingness to climb toward that encounter. Every step up the rocky trail requires effort. Your lungs burn, your legs ache, and doubt whispers, why not turn back? Why put yourself through this? Yet the higher you climb, the more expansive your perspective becomes. The same is true of psychological growth. The shadow resists confrontation. It tries to convince you that denial is easier, but those who choose the mountain are ready to endure hardship because they know that only by facing their darkness can they truly expand their light. The myths of heroes across cultures, from Hercules to Gilgamesh, from Buddha to Christ, echo this truth. Each hero must leave behind comfort, venture into danger, and wrestle with forces that seem greater than themselves. The victory does not come from avoiding struggle, but from transforming through it. Jung saw this as the story of individuation, the process of becoming whole by uniting opposites, by reconciling ego with unconscious, by befriending rather than fleeing from the shadow. Choosing the mountain path often signals that you are at a turning point. Perhaps life has presented you with challenges that seem overwhelming, conflicts, responsibilities, inner turmoil. The unconscious invites you not to escape these burdens, but to climb through them. Each difficulty is a step toward greater strength. Just as physical muscles grow only when strained, the soul strengthens through confrontation. At the heart of the mountain journey lies humility. To stand at the base of a mountain is to realize how small you are. Yet paradoxically, this humility fuels greatness. By acknowledging your limitations, you create space for growth. By admitting your flaws, you gain the courage to face them. The shadow loses its destructive power when it is acknowledged. What you refuse to see controls you. What you accept becomes integrated. The climb is not solitary. Along the way, you may encounter guides, friends, or adversaries who mirror aspects of your psyche. Jung often noted that figures who appear in dreams, mentors, enemies, strangers, are personifications of inner forces. The mountain path, then, is not just about a literal ascent, but about meeting these parts of yourself along the way. Each encounter is an invitation to integration. Consider the moment you reach the summit. Breathless, exhausted, perhaps wounded, you finally look out and see the world spread beneath you. Everything appears smaller, clearer, more connected. This vision represents the reward of confronting the shadow. By climbing, by enduring, you achieve perspective. You no longer identify solely with the ego. You recognize yourself as part of a larger whole. The mountain transforms not because it changes, but because you do. Yet the summit is not the end. The hero archetype teaches that once you conquer the mountain, you must return. You descend with wisdom, carrying light back to the valley. In psychological terms, this means that insights gained through struggle must be lived in daily life. It is not enough to know your shadow. You must integrate it into relationships, choices, and actions. The climb is wasted if it does not reshape how you walk on level ground. If you chose the mountain, honor the courage that stirred within you. Something in your soul longs to grow stronger, to prove itself not to others but to your deeper self. The climb will not be easy. You will stumble, sweat, and doubt. But every scar will tell a story of resilience. Every ache will testify to transformation. You are the hero of your journey, and the mountain, far from crushing you, exists to reveal your strength. The path of the mountain is the path of the brave. To walk it is to accept that pain and difficulty are not obstacles but teachers. It is to trust that your shadow, once faced, becomes your ally. And it is to know that at the peak of your struggle, you will find not only clarity but also yourself, whole, integrated, and free. Stand before the ocean, and you face a paradox. Endless expanse and constant motion, calm horizons and roaring storms. The sea has always been a symbol of mystery, fertility, danger, and depth. For Jung, water represented the unconscious, vast, powerful, and containing life's origins. To choose the ocean path is to choose immersion in the emotional and creative dimensions of your being. When you look at the ocean, you sense both awe and vulnerability. Unlike the mountain, which demands strength to rise, the sea asks you to surrender. You cannot command the waves. You float, you dive, or you are carried. This surrender is not weakness. It is trust. The soul drawn to the ocean knows that control is an illusion. Instead, growth arises from allowing oneself to feel deeply, to be moved by unseen currents. Those who select this path often resonate with the archetype of the artist or dreamer. Creativity, imagination, and sensitivity are the gifts of this archetype. The ocean calls you not to conquer but to express, not to suppress but to channel. Art, music, poetry, storytelling, all these forms are waves rising from the unconscious. Even if you do not consider yourself an artist, the impulse to create, to give form to inner experience, is a sign of your kinship with this path. The ocean also symbolizes connection with the collective unconscious. Jung proposed that beneath our personal memories lies a deeper layer of psyche shared by all humanity. Myths, symbols, and archetypes are like waves that appear across cultures and eras. When you are drawn to the ocean, you may be sensing your link to this collective reservoir. Your dreams, emotions, and visions are not merely personal, they echo something universal. To choose the ocean path may also indicate a time of heightened emotional awareness. Perhaps you feel your heart swelling with compassion, or breaking under grief, or stirred by longing. Water teaches that emotions must flow, If they are blocked, they stagnate and poison. If they are allowed to move, they cleanse and renew. The ocean invites you to trust your feelings, even when they seem overwhelming, for they carry messages from the depths of your soul. Of course, the ocean is not only gentle. Storms remind us that the unconscious can overwhelm, that creativity can become chaos, that sensitivity can wound. The artist archetype, while gifted, is vulnerable to drowning in feelings or illusions. Jung warned of inflation, being swallowed by archetypal forces without grounding. Thus, choosing the ocean is both a gift and a challenge, to dive into inspiration without losing yourself, to feel deeply without dissolving entirely. Imagine walking along the shore at dusk, waves rushing over your feet. You realize that every wave is unique, yet all belong to the same body. This mirrors the human soul. Each of us is an individual, yet all are part of one great collective. The ocean reminds you that creativity is never isolated. It draws upon something larger than you. Your work, your expressions, are waves contributing to the eternal rhythm of humanity. There is also healing in this path. Water cleanses, baptizes, restores. Many spiritual traditions use water to symbolize rebirth. If you chose the ocean, your unconscious may be guiding you toward renewal through creativity or emotional release. Perhaps it is time to cry the tears you have held back, to paint the images you have suppressed, to sing the melodies you thought no one would hear. Expression is the medicine of the ocean. Choosing the ocean also reveals courage of a different kind. It is not the courage of conquest, but the courage of vulnerability. To stand before the vast unknown and allow yourself to be carried by it requires trust in life itself. The dreamer archetype knows that surrender is not defeat, but a deeper form of strength. By flowing with the current, you discover pathways invisible to the rigid mind. So what does this path ask of you now? To listen to your inner tides, to allow your imagination to surface, to honor your sensitivity rather than despise it, to create not for applause, but for authenticity. The ocean whispers that your soul longs for expression, for communion with the larger whole, for renewal in the waters of emotion and creativity. If you walk the ocean path, let the waves teach you. Dive into your depths, surface with treasures, and share them with the world. Remember, the ocean does not end. It is eternal, like the creative spirit within you. Imagine yourself stepping onto a lively street. Buildings rise above you, people hurry past, conversations echo, lights flicker, and everywhere there is movement. The city is alive, a pulsating heart of culture, commerce, and human interaction. To choose the city path is to embrace the world of relationships, identity, and society. Unlike the solitude of the forest or the surrender of the sea, the city calls you into engagement, connection, and performance. Carl Jung emphasized the concept of the persona, the social mask we wear to navigate collective life. The persona is not inherently false, it is necessary. Just as we wear clothes suited to different climates, we adopt behaviors suited to different environments. Yet the danger lies in mistaking the mask for the face, the role for the essence. To walk the city path means that your soul is currently wrestling with the balance between authenticity and adaptation. The city is a stage. Every street corner reveals actors playing their parts. Professionals in offices, vendors in markets, children in schools, artists on sidewalks. You too must play a role. The unconscious impulse drawing you here may be reminding you of your deep need for belonging, for exchange, for participation in the collective story. Humans are not solitary creatures by nature. We thrive in networks of meaning. The city embodies this truth. Choosing the city path suggests that, at this point in your journey, your development requires interaction. Perhaps you are being called to refine communication, to learn from others, to test your ideas in the crucible of dialogue. Solitude can heal, but isolation can stunt growth. In the city, you encounter mirrors, each person reflecting back aspects of yourself. Through friendships, conflicts, and collaborations, your unconscious seeks to show you dimensions you cannot see alone. Yet the city also presents a danger, the temptation to lose yourself in the crowd. The persona, if worn too tightly, suffocates the self. Jung warned that identification with the mask leads to alienation. You risk forgetting who you are beneath the social roles: employee, student, parent, partner, influencer. The city path therefore challenges you to engage with society while remaining anchored in authenticity. The question becomes, how can you belong without betraying your essence? Consider how the city never sleeps. Its rhythm is ceaseless. Trains arrive, markets open, lights glow, voices rise. This constant movement mirrors the restless search for validation in social life. Many who walk the city path find themselves exhausted by the need to appear successful, attractive, or important. The unconscious may be showing you that it is time to examine your masks. Which ones serve you and which ones enslave you? At the same time, the city is a place of wisdom. Libraries, theaters, universities, cafes. These spaces hold the collective knowledge of humanity. The archetype of the social sage or learner is active here. You may feel drawn to learn, to share, to participate in cultural growth. The city path suggests that your individuation, your process of becoming whole, is unfolding not in isolation, but through dialogue, exchange, and contribution to the larger community. Think of the city square, where strangers gather, ideas clash, and new movements are born. In such places, revolutions of thought and spirit ignite. By walking this path, you align yourself with the energy of transformation through connection. Your unconscious is not asking you to disappear into society, but to engage meaningfully, to discover your place in the larger pattern. There is also an element of testing here. Just as metal is tested in fire, the self is tested in relationships. In solitude, you may imagine yourself enlightened. In society, you discover your triggers, your weaknesses, your strengths. The city path is not comfortable, but it is necessary for integration. It teaches that true authenticity does not reject masks, but wears them consciously, knowing they are tools, not prisons. If you chose the city, your destiny at this moment may involve learning to dance between masks and truth. The unconscious is guiding you to explore how you appear to others, how you relate, and how you remain authentic in a world of expectations. The challenge is not to withdraw, but to participate without losing yourself. The city path is a reminder. You are both an individual and part of the collective. Your growth now depends on finding harmony between these dimensions. To walk this road is to accept that life is not lived alone, and that through every connection, conflict, and conversation, you discover more of who you really are. Picture yourself stepping out of the crowded streets, away from walls and ceilings, and suddenly finding yourself in an open field. The horizon stretches endlessly. Grasses ripple in the wind. The sky above is vast and uncluttered. Here there are no boundaries but those of the earth and sky. This is the path of freedom, spontaneity, and renewal. To choose the field is to choose authenticity, unconfined by rigid structures. In Jungian psychology, this choice resonates with the archetype of the fool or the free spirit. Unlike the hero who climbs mountains, or the hermit who withdraws to the forest, the fool carries no map. He trusts intuition, curiosity, and innocence. He walks lightly, unafraid of mistakes, because every step is discovery. If the mountain is about discipline and the city about masks, the field is about liberation, the pure joy of being alive without justification. The open field symbolizes new beginnings. Just as a field must be seeded to yield crops, your soul may be calling for planting something fresh in your life. Perhaps it is a new project, relationship, or perspective. The unconscious speaks here of possibilities rather than obligations. In this space, you are free to explore without pressure to meet external standards. Freedom, however, is not the absence of direction, but the presence of authenticity. Choosing the field path may mean that you are ready to shed expectations placed upon you by others. The ego, shaped by parents, culture, and society, often carries heavy scripts. You must be successful, you must behave, you must achieve. The field whispers otherwise. You may simply be. For Jung, individuation required returning to the self, the totality of your being, unbound by roles. In the openness of the field, the self can emerge, playful and whole. The fool archetype is often misunderstood as naive or careless. In truth, The fool embodies courage of a different kind, the courage to be vulnerable, to begin without certainty, to risk appearing foolish for the sake of growth. In tarot symbolism, the fool carries a small bag, only the essentials, and steps forward into the unknown with trust. If you chose this path, it may indicate that your soul longs for this same freedom, to release burdens, to carry only what matters, and to step lightly into life. The field also represents connection to nature in its most expansive form. Unlike the dense forest or turbulent sea, the field is open, sunlit, fertile. It symbolizes transparency, clarity, and innocence. Walking here, you sense a return to childhood wonder, lying in grass, watching clouds drift, chasing butterflies. Such memories remind you that joy is not in possessions, but in presence. To embrace the field is to recover the lost art of delight. Of course, freedom has its risks. Too much openness can feel overwhelming. Too much spontaneity can dissolve into aimlessness. The challenge of this path is to balance freedom with purpose. Jung would say that the self provides this balance. When you are aligned with your inner truth, spontaneity does not scatter you. It directs you effortlessly, like a river flowing downhill. The field invites you to trust that life can be simple. In a world obsessed with complexity, achievement, and competition, the idea of simply existing as you are seems radical, yet authenticity is the essence of individuation. You cannot become whole by imitating others. You can only become whole by embracing your uniqueness. The field whispers, stop striving to fit. Start allowing yourself to bloom. If this path called to you, perhaps your unconscious is asking you to lighten your load. Release the heaviness of constant self-criticism or external pressure. Allow yourself to play, to experiment, to live, without demanding perfection. In the openness of the field, mistakes are not failures, they are seeds. Every step plants something new, and over time a harvest emerges. The field path, then, is about trust in life and in yourself. It reminds you that freedom is not something given by others, but something you claim by being true to your essence. To choose it is to honor your inner fool, the part of you willing to risk, to laugh, to dance, and to create without fear of judgment. So walk into the field, breathe deeply, feel the sky stretch above you, and the earth support you.